Do you, be you, you're perfect the way you are. From our friends and family to the pop songs playing on the radio, we've all heard these encouraging words echo into our minds and ears. Of course, words like this are definitely sweet to hear. They have undoubtedly, at some point in time, helped our worried hearts and minds grow a bit bolder. And while it is important that we learn to love ourselves, live the way we wish, and be the person we desire, we do need to remember, not everything that is sweet is entirely good for us. In a world where we're constantly reminded of how much uglier we are compared to that of a celebrity, or less exciting of a life we lived as an Instagram influencer, it is understandable that we now live in a time where believing you're the best is encouraged. But we need to ask ourselves, what point do those words become nothing more than a justification to stay comfortably the same? In this video, I'll share exactly why knowing that you're not so great can actually be good for you in this age of ego. Before I do so, make sure to subscribe to this channel, like this video so it spreads out to more people, and I can continue to help you mine the golden mine. So since birth, our parents looked at us with sparkling eyes, gazing at the infinite hope our future held. They told us that we could be anything, letting us know that we were in fact special, and allowed us to believe that everything and anything was possible. But then we graduated, searched for jobs, and entered the real world. And it's here where a majority of people are faced with the challenges of discovering themselves. Since the advent of social media, our innate desire to connect has taken us on an endless search for approval. So many of us have distanced ourselves from the people that matter, our friends and family, and searched for those sweet nothings from strangers afar. As a former Facebook executive said, we bury ourselves into these short-term, dopamine-driven feedback loops, and ultimately define our identities. The empty likes and follows create a diluted sense of self and a shell of who we actually are, seen only from the surface. We all possess weakness in some way or another. Even those that may seem perfect beyond all measure have something deep in their minds they wish they could change. However, what separates those who grow from those who merely remain in the known is the full acknowledgement and embrace of those weaknesses. They don't simply accept what is, but instead find a way to flip their weaknesses as strengths. While the movement for self-love is encouraged and great, over-complimenting ourselves and believing that we are perfect the way we are is nothing more than a dangerous pit of complacency. The problem with constant self-appraisal is that we ignore any chance of real constructive criticism and escape the opportunities to actually reflect on who we are and what we can do to become better. When we start to look at ourselves from a different side, we might come to realize what more we can do to better our lives. As Stanford University psychologist Carol S. Dweck once explored the idea of mindset, how it plays a large part in the outcomes of success. As she notes, why hide deficiencies instead of overcoming them? Why look for friends or partners who will just shore up your self-esteem instead of ones who will also challenge you to grow? And why seek out the tried and true instead of experiences that will stretch you? Passion for stretching yourself and sticking to it, even or especially when it's not going well, is the hallmark of the growth mindset. This is the mindset that allows people to thrive during some of the most challenging times in their lives. So it's easy to get caught up in comfort. It can feel nice to feel competent in something and be in a place of admiration, feeling like you're all that. And yet, what separates the great from the good is knowing that comfort ultimately kills. Without reflecting on who we are, trying to examine who we can actually be, we risk living a life standing still in place, never really moving. In life, more than ever, things are always changing. What was once hip will eventually be no longer it, and the old familiar ways we thought were right may be far from it. Comfort, as safe as it may feel, is nothing more than an enemy to progress. We all want to be greater than what we are, and yet the one thing that stops us from actually doing so is ourselves. We often say, leave me be, I'm doing me, this is who I am. So while the underlying message is definitely beautiful, a lot of us don't see past these words. Instead, we ignore any inkling of criticism, brushing aside into the labeled haters, and refuse to bear witness to the possibilities for change. In the end, none of this is to say that you should berate yourself. As I said before, we should all learn to love ourselves wholeheartedly. But instead of doing so blindly, telling ourselves, this is who I am and that's that, we need to be a bit more open to the idea that perhaps I'm not all that. Perhaps I could be better. Perhaps I could be more. So there's nothing wrong with having flaws. We all have them. Finding the power of self-love is something that takes time and active effort. It does not and should not come from empty words and vapid likes. With a bit more searching and exploring in our lives, you'll find it. This is not something that can simply happen overnight either. The journey is far and long. There is a special beauty that comes from digging, fighting, and earning the love we have for the one person that counts, which is yourself. Rather than simply falling into the sweet nothings around you, covering yourself in a blanket of mild safety, You should stand tall at the beauty of your refined self, knowing very well who and what you are deep within. We all have the ability to be the best versions of ourselves beyond all measure. To reach that greater state of excellence, you need to try and be more than what you know. You need to step outside of the constraining frames that you've built around you, face your inner demons, and truly look to discover what it means to be you. As Wilhelm Reich once wrote, "You differ from a great man in only one respect. The great man was once a very little man, but he developed one important quality. He recognized the smallness and narrowness of his thoughts and actions." Under the pressure of some task that meant a great deal to him, he learned to see how his smallness, his pettiness, endangered his happiness. In other words, a great man knows when and in what way he is a little man. A little man does not know he is little and is afraid to know. He hides his pettiness and narrowness behind illusions of strength and greatness, someone else's strength and greatness. He's proud of his great generals, but not of himself. He admires an idea he has not had, not one he has had. The less he understands something, the more firmly he believes in it. And the better he understands an idea, the less he believes in it. So, if this video has taught you anything, it's to learn to be humble. And learning to be humble is a process. And much like that, so is learning to trust yourself. So if you want to learn more about trusting yourself, make sure to check out the next video. And if this video was insightful or helpful for you, please give it a thumbs up. It would really help this channel out. And subscribe if you want to be fed more nuggets of gold like this that help boost brain and behavior.